From our Toronto studios tonight, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. Peace and human rights advocates on Sunday renewed calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The day marked 6 months since the start of Israel's retaliatory war on the enclave for the October 7th attacks. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres reiterated his call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, the unconditional release of all hostages, the protection of civilians, and the unimpeded delivery of humanitarian aid. At least 33,207 Palestinians have been killed and 75,933 wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th. An estimated 7,000 bodies remain buried under the debris of bombed-out buildings. Most of the dead are women and children. The death toll in Israel from Hamas's October 7th attack stands at 1,139, with dozens still held prisoner. At least 38 Palestinians have been killed over the past 24 hours in Gaza, according to a statement from the Palestinian Ministry. Meanwhile, Israeli forces used gas canisters to disperse Muslims gathered at Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied East Jerusalem for morning prayer on Saturday. Israel has restricted thousands of Palestinian worshippers' access to the Al-Aqsa Mosque amid growing tensions across Israeli-occupied West Bank. The International Court of Justice has begun 2 days of hearing concerning Nicaragua's plea for emergency measures against Germany. Nicaragua accuses Germany of violating international law through its support of Israel's war on Gaza. This is by aiding Israel military and by defunding the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or the UNRWA, thereby facilitating genocide. Nicaragua's legal representatives argue that Germany's actions breached the 1948 Genocide Convention and the 1949 Geneva Conventions, under which countries not only agree not to commit genocide, but also to prevent and punish any possible genocide. It also makes complicity in genocide and attempting a genocide a violation of the treaty. Germany is one of the largest arms exporters to Israel, together with the United States, according to the UN experts. The court will reconvene Tuesday to hear the German delegation's defense. In January, in a case brought by South Africa, the court ordered Israel to prevent acts of genocide in its war on Gaza. The World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus has denounced the denial of the basic needs in Gaza as inhumane and intolerable, and the situation a stain on humanity. Ghebreyesus says the recent assessments reveal extensive destruction in Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital, hindering essential health services. The WHO chief also notes that 70% of the deaths in Gaza are of women and children, and should be a compelling reason to end the war. Meanwhile, UN Humanitarian Chief Martin Griffiths has also condemned Israel's actions, calling it a betrayal of humanity. He is urging collective action to address the escalating civilian casualties and fragile aid operation. Leaders say urgent measures, including protecting the health facilities and workers, facilitating aid access, and implementing a ceasefire. Pro-Palestinian protesters held a demonstration on Friday in New York to mark Al-Quds Day and express solidarity with Palestinians. Gathering in Times Square, protesters marched, chanted slogans, and held banners. American Academy Award-winning actress Susan Sarandon also attended the protest and reiterated her support for the people of Palestine. As well, pro-Palestine activists held a rally in front of the National Monument in Washington, followed by a march to the White House. On Saturday, hundreds gathered in front of the U.S. consulate in Johannesburg in South Africa and organized a march for Al-Quds Day. South Africans participating in the march carried Palestinian flags and anti-Israeli signs. President Joe Biden is facing mounting pressure to devise a definitive strategy to thwart Israel's threatened invasion of the city of Rafah in southern Gaza. Critical care physician Dr. Nahreen Ahmed of Philadelphia emphasized the need for a solid plan during a closed-door meeting at the White House. Ahmed is a medical director of the Illinois-based medical humanitarian aid group MedGlobal. She returned from her second visit to Gaza this year at the beginning of March. Ahmed expressed concern over the lack of tangible measures to stop the invasion, highlighting the urgent need for a clear U.S. policy shift. The call comes in the wake of Biden's recent warning to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu demanding reforms following Israel's killing of 7 aid workers of the Washington, D.C.-based charity World Central Kitchen. Biden stressed the importance of specific actions by Israel. However, questions remain regarding the U.S.'s arms package to Israel amid ongoing airstrikes and dire humanitarian conditions in Gaza. Ahmed urged immediate action to halt arms shipments and increase aid delivery to Gaza. Despite Israel's agreement to expand humanitarian routes, concerns persist about tangible outcomes. Ahmed says she remains hopeful, but cautious about Biden's ability to exert necessary pressure on Israel. A recent study reveals alarming levels of plastic waste on ocean floors. Estimated at up to 11 million tons, this pollution dwarfs the quantity floating on the surface by 100 times. The research was conducted by the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization and the University of Toronto. Experts say it underscores the urgent need to address deep-sea plastic accumulation. Lead researcher Alice Zhu emphasizes that even if surface pollution is curbed, plastic will persist in the deep ocean. With plastic production set to double by 2040 and global treaty negotiations stalled, experts are calling for urgent measures to prevent further environmental degradation and protect human health and economies. Muslims in most parts of the world observed Laylat al-Qadr, or the Night of Power, last Friday. The night represents the beginning of the divine revelation of the Quran to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, commemorated in the last nights of Ramadan. Muslims will mark the month's completion with the Eid al-Fitr celebration, which is expected on Wednesday. During the Night of Power, worshippers performed prayers in Algiers. Muslims in the Erbil province of northern Iraq flocked to Regai Bahasht Mosque to observe the Holy Night. Muslims also gathered to perform prayer on the night at the Imperial Mosque in Pristina, Kosovo, and at the Al-Istiqlal Mosque in Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Rwanda marked its 30th anniversary of the country's genocide. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Rwanda marked the 30th anniversary of the country's genocide with solemn ceremonies led by President Paul Kagame and foreign dignitaries. Wreaths were laid at the Kigali Genocide Memorial, and the flame of remembrance was lit in honor of more than 250,000 victims. The flame will burn for 7 days across 4 memorials, recently added to UNESCO's World Heritage List. Kagame emphasized lessons learned from the tragedy and criticized tribal politics. Various events, including a walk to remember and a night vigil, were held nationwide. European Council President Charles Michel and former U.S. President Bill Clinton attended, with French President Emmanuel Macron acknowledging France's role in the genocide. Kagame also urged nations to extradite genocide suspects still at large. According to Rwanda's Genocide Fugitives Tracking Unit, more than 1,000 suspects have taken refuge in various countries, including France, the US, the Netherlands, and Canada. Germany's University of Cologne disinvited US-based philosopher Nancy Fraser from a professorship due to her criticism of Israel's war on Gaza. The university justified this step by citing Fraser's decision to co-sign an open letter last fall entitled Philosophy for Palestine. The university said the letter has called into question the existence of Israel's right to exist as an ethno-supremacist state since its foundation in 1948. German sociologists Stefan Lessenich and Hartmut Rosa, as well as philosopher Axel Honneth, condemned the decision as being incompatible with academic freedom. They say the move appears to be a further attempt to restrict the public and the academic discussion on Israel and Palestine. Analysts say Germany has been the scene of mass cancellations of pro-Palestinian demonstrations and political events over the past 6 months. They note that this is a result of the pressure by the Israel lobby. A 14-year-old girl identified as Samara is in a coma following an attack by 3 teenagers outside her school in Montpellier, France. The perpetrators, aged 14 and 15, including a fellow female student of the victim's school, have been detained on suspicion of attempted murder. The attack comes amid heightened tensions in French schools, with threats of violence circulating internally. Samara's mother, Hasiba, revealed her daughter had been enduring bullying, potentially linked to her behavior and her attire. Education Minister Nicole Belloubet has initiated an urgent investigation into the assault. President Emmanuel Macron expressed solidarity but urged caution until the facts are clarified. Samara's case has sparked national concern over school safety and bullying. Tajikistan is denying accusations that Ukraine is recruiting fighters in its capital, Dushanbe. Russia's Security Council alleges the Ukrainian embassy violated diplomatic status by recruiting mercenaries to join the International Legion. Tajikistan says this has no basis and that such actions are illegal under its laws. Ukraine has conscripted an army of foreign fighters called the International Legion, which offers to get Ukrainian citizenship at the end of the war. Diplomatic relations between Tajikistan and Russia are already strained due to the recent fatal attack on Crocus Music Hall outside Moscow last month. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack that killed 60 people and injured 110 others. One of the alleged terrorists responsible for the attack, who was arrested in Russia, was Tajik. 9 others were detained for alleged participation in the attack in Tajikistan. Uganda's Constitutional Court has upheld the Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023, rejecting a petition to overturn the law. Leading the court, Justice Richard Butira said it would not nullify the law or grant an injunction against its enforcement. Enacted last May, the law drew widespread condemnation from the LGBTQ+ activists, the UN, and Western nations. It mandates severe penalties, including life imprisonment for consensual same-sex relations. The provisions allow for the death penalty for what it is called aggravated homosexuality. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. This Ramadan, your support is needed more now than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by calling 1-800-432-4262. You can also use the Zelle app for easy payments by sending to info@soundvision.com or visit muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.